Hello and welcome to episode 8, where if you listen closely, you will hear Manny accidentally step over a railing that's half as high as he is and then fall into the ocean. You can't see it, and it's easy to miss, which is why you're watching my video. But first, we see him here, lost at a crossroads, looking for a sign which, when he finds it, points down 6 feet underground. Crossroads have tremendously deep mythological meaning. Some cultures buried their criminals at crossroads because they wanted the criminals to be confused. They believed that the crossroads would confuse the dead. And Manny is certainly confused, and he's certainly a criminal. Other cultures believe that crossroads are a place between worlds. The Aztec believed that the 9 levels of Mictlan were right under the feet of the living, and that flowers were literally pushed up through the ground by the dead. How's that for spooky? That goes really well with these upside-down trees. Now, I'm gonna tell you a secret. If you change your PC clock time, you have to have an old-fashioned PC that lets you do that, so it doesn't auto-update, and you go through the right one of these at the right time. It will take you to Ava's summer home.
Hey, wait a second.
You know, I too was lost here. Back in 1998 when this puzzle came out, I had to go to uhshints.com and cheat.
This signpost seems to be pointing the way to Rubacava.
I had no idea that you can pick up a sign and that it would still be useful. And the sign is a Lotería card. It's the last one we find in the woods. If I use tank controls to turn this around a bit, you can see how there is more than one arrow and how they're pointing in different directions. Now look at the colors that these arrows are outlined in. Those are the same colors used on the fletching of the arrows in the Lotería card. Unlike the heart, I don't see how the traditional saying for this card is relevant. For me, these arrows will always mean crossroads, choices. So, if you put this thing down, it spins around and points to where he's supposed to go, and then he turns around and faces that direction as well. So you expect when the sign points to an opening, it will magically change and suddenly it will go somewhere useful. Like maybe Christmas Town. Looks like the sign is pointing this way, under here. But before we go in, let's double check that we've got the right one. You don't want him to end up in the Red Queen's lair along with Alice in Wonderland, do you? Confused yet? The sign is actually pointing at this dark spot over here. So how did this spot get so worn? Maybe it's made by Manny, stuck in a time loop, doing this over and over again. Okay, time to get the bone wagon. if you accidentally try to get the truck instead of just use it?
I left my tow truck back in my other suit.
He lies to you and tells you that he has another suit. This light square is where the secret door opens, so I'm going to park the bone wagon right on top. So now we place the arrows on the dark spot. That will make the secret door open, and since the bone wagon is sitting right on top of it, it will be flung right over all the treetops and right into M.A.S.H. And we're gonna have to go there to do this again.
Not here. That's no way to treat the bone wagon.
Oh, would you look at that? He knows you're trying to damage the bone wagon, and he's too much of a gentleman to do it.
Not here. That's no way to treat the bone wagon.
He's remembering the future again. Time loop. Okay, so it didn't fling the bone wagon to M.A.S.H. That would have been cool, kinda like a Daedalic game. But instead, there's this subtle hint that something is not quite right. There's something deeper right under the surface. I think it's a time loop. There it is. There's the light spot where the secret door opens. This is going to be important later. Manny's footsteps sound very different on the ground than they sounded in the garage. You hear that? You will hear it again shortly, in a place where there's no grass. If you ever find yourself lost in the woods at night, and you see a sign, where you think the sign is pointing might not be where the sign is actually pointing.
Lotería.
And that's what people say when they win a Lotería board. This proves that at least Tony Plana knew that the Lotería cards were in this game. I did go through all the Lotería boards at this point, and I included cards that are in this game that I hadn't shown you yet, like this one. And still, I can't figure out which of them could be a winner at this point. If you know which Lotería card wins when you play Mexican Lotería along with Grim Fandango, please let me know in the comments. Look at how well the bone wagon's shocks absorb that nosedive. And speaking of misleading signs, this sign looks like a badger's head on a pike with a fiery comb over. And now you can see that the trees really are upside down. It looks like their leaves are petrified into these masses that you can only see this deep underground.
Looks like some sort of warning sign. They'll tear you apart bone by bone and build with you a human throne. Their buck-toothed king will sit upon what once was you, but now is gone. This key unlocks the gates of hell. Steady traveler, use it well.
That last line seems to imply there is one traveler using the key repeatedly. If there are many travelers, that raises the question of who puts the key back. Is there a demon whose job it is to repeatedly fish the key out of the badger's water and put it up? The key seems to be placed too high up for even a demon to reach. Remember that Gladys is one of the taller ones, so it would have to be something with wings.
Can't pass up an old creepy key.
Maybe the flying bat spiders return it. Or maybe it's the skeletal pigeons. Or maybe there are not many travelers using this key repeatedly. Maybe it's just Manny, coming here many times. That explains why the key is so rusty. It was probably brand new when they put it up, but instead he was trapped in El Marrow serving his time. The key sat here waiting for him.
That doesn't look like the gates of hell to me.
Sometimes he's got no imagination.
You know, if I had had a car like this when I was alive, things would have been different.
I think he's right. If he's here because he couldn't find love, a car like that would have found him lots of love. Anyone who could resist a car like that is not worth knowing.
Okay, the beasts of Black River are blowing bubbles at the bottom, so let's power on through, huh, Glot?
Manny, look at that badass gate. I can't drive through that. We have to find the key.
Híjole.
Gladys was too busy making car noises to notice that Manny now has the key to hell.
It's the key to the gates of hell, I seem to recall.
The key to hell looks like a spoon. Is that because skeletons can't really eat? It makes sense that those bones that have been damned by the badgers are in hell, but there's no gate on the other side. So does that mean that Rubacava and everything after it is also hell?
This outer gate is huge. I'll need Glottis to open it.
Manny, I don't know if I like driving over people.
They can't feel it, they're dead.
You're dead. I wouldn't want to drive over you.
That's because you and I, Glottis, are friends.
Aw, Manny.
And here to the right of the bone wagon, you will see what looks like the Scorpion Lotería card. Is this the Scorpion Hidden Object Lotería card? I don't know, because if you look to the left, this looks like an Enderman. And that's gotta be a coincidence.
Hello? Miss Colomar! We're here to save you!
Hey, lay off the racket, the whole town's asleep.
But I want a drag race! When they get a load of my car, we're gonna be the talk of the town!
You're right. We're gonna have to find a good place to hide that road show.
He's laying down that irony thick.
Meche is here already. I'm gonna go see what I can stir up. Not a bad piece of real estate, actually. It's got potential.
This poor guy even makes Glottis repress himself. I know it sounds strange, but I really like watching Manny smoke from up here. Because he gets really into it. It's like a whole body workout for him. He somehow manages to even engage his legs in the process of smoking. And then he meditates on the cigarette for a bit. He doesn't realize how deeply he's betraying his unhappiness when he does this. He's already admitted that he's only happy when he's smoking, Here you can see the effort he puts in to fill every part of his considerable emptiness with cigarette smoke. He smokes the way healthy living people do hatha yoga. Another thing I like about Manny up here is he reminds me of a character from M.A.S.H. I'm not really a really big fan of M.A.S.H, so I can't really tell you which character, but the fog over here really reminds me of the early morning fog in the theme song. While Manny stretches up to fill his heartless chest cavity with smoke, I want you to pay attention to this fence over here. It's really high, child-proof even. Looks like it would be hard to climb over. You'd need to put your feet in these holes over here and somehow lift yourself over. And look, this fence goes all around. There's a bit of it over here just for you to see that, yes, the fence that you could see encasing this whole area in year 2 is actually here in year 1. And now, the guy who did this earlier this morning is going to accidentally fall over this fence. You're not gonna see it happen. You can hear his footsteps change. On the ground over here, his feet sound like my stiletto heels, really loud. But then you hear 2 steps that sound a lot more like his feet in the forest on rocky ground that can only exist outside the fence. Early morning fog is easy. Here they are.
Ooh.
Yeah, tourists.
Velasco thinks it's an accident. So it has to be an accident, yeah? The soldier is rescued by the sailor.
You gotta watch your step around here, stranger. Rubicabe ain't the quaint
With a
little
quite
port town
erect
she
cactus
used to be.
strategically placed in the background.
Oh, hell. Looks like there's a new vessel in town. Pardon me whilst I go check her out.
So this is not the last time that Velasco leaves Manny for a vehicle. Manny looks so sad shaking in the corner like that. He wasn't shaking just a minute ago. He's only shaking now that Velasco's walking away. Why is that? I think it's the water. At first, I really wasn't sure what the water in this game meant. I guessed that being dunked in the water repeatedly was a kind of baptism, washing away sins of a bad life, that sort of thing. But then I got into the Lotería, and in the Lotería, water can be perceived as culture. The siren swims in her culture, while the frog jumps between cultures. But that's not the meaning of water in Grim Fandango. One time, I was reading somebody's Calavera Katrina fanfiction online, don't ask, but it led me to a story about a woman who was underwater, and the water was symbolizing emotion and oppressive femininity. And I think that's what happened to Manny here when he got dunked into water. He was trying to fill the hole where his heart used to be with cigarette smoke. And now he had this rush of water that he was completely unprepared for. He thought he was done with that. He thought love was for the living. And he doesn't know what to do about it. He's completely wrecked by it. Even his suit isn't holding him up anymore. But now you can no longer tell that Manny had just taken a nosedive off a cliff. I think it's his uniform. I think it helps him keep his shoulders back. Helps him go, forward march.
Well, actually, it's mostly stock with a few mods here and there. So, would those be glass packs I'm hearing, or turbos?
These guys are seriously geeking out over vintage muffler types. Only natural to check out the guy that rescued you.
I've always wanted one of those jackets.
Yeah, that's good, Manny. Fashion is a better choice for you than early morning fog walks.
I I wish Gladys would hide that thing.
He hides his Reaper cloak. He wants to hide the bone wagon.
Gladys, you gotta hide that car.
In a minute, Manny. I'm talking to Mr. Dark Master here.
I wish he'd hide his desire to hide things a little better, because it's so obvious you might get the impression that he's got something to hide.
There was this one high-pitched whine it was making, really grating noise, you know? And I searched and searched, but I couldn't find the source of the noise until we pulled in here.
Was it the blower?
No, it was Manny screaming in the back like a cat tied to a cruise missile.
That's a good one.
Hola.
They're bonding
Hey,
over
Manny,
laughing
Doc
at Manny.
Master Velasco here says he's got a place we can dry dock the bone wagon for a while.
Oh, yeah. We can't leave a beauty like this out in the fog, or her chrome will get pitted.
Pitted? Did you hear that, Manny?
You folks gonna stay in Rubacava for a spell?
The important question is this one. Work keeps him from wandering around in the early morning fog.
I might be here a while. Is there any work in this town?
Well, there's lots of work down at the docks, but it's all union work. And I just don't see you in that union.
Whenever NPCs laugh at the main character like this, it is a prophecy. It's telling you that choices don't matter. It's going to happen.
We're here looking for a woman named Mercedes Colomar.
I'm not too good with names. Did she have any distinguishing marks or a tattoo?
Not that she showed me.
Well, like I said, I'm as good with names as you are with the fog.
I know this game is about dressing up death in fancy clothes, but this is getting a bit out of hand.
How do you get around here with all the mist?
When you've strolled these docks as long as I have, Pilgrim, you know where you are by the smell of the sea, by the sound of the lonely foghorn, by the icy touch of the cold, salty air.
Wow. Manny, could I have an eye patch?
Well, of course. Doesn't everyone want to be a pirate?
Can I just ask, what is under the eye patch? Because I know it's not an eye.
Oh, well, when I was alive, I had an eye patch like this. This one's just for the phantom pain. And that one eye socket used to scream like a banshee when the trade
I
winds
realize
blew, so
this
I
is
plucked
a
it.
bit of a coincidence, but trade winds are winds from the east in a tropical area. Incidentally, the east wind is sacred to Quetzalcoatl, whom we see depicted again on these columns over here. I realize this is just a tremendous coincidence because they couldn't have possibly thought through this game to that level of detail. They did, however, think through the drainage system. I wonder how much rain Rubacava gets, and is there a rainy season? If it does, it would go down these grates over here. It would come through this drain pipe, which is also attached to similar gutters that are positioned up above over there. They had actually thought through how water would drain with this multi-level system that's going on here and where it would go at each step of the way. That's the level of detail that they put in when designing this place. And yet, they and I have both made a tremendous mistake with the fence in this area, which I will get to shortly because there really is no fence there anymore since they photoshopped it out. Okay, to be honest, I think I screwed up. When you get here, you can kind of see that the fence has been photoshopped out of the scene. And in year 2, there is definitely no break between the old fence and the new fence. It's one whole thing. Clearly, somebody got to this piece and went, hey, wait a minute. And then they hastily photoshopped the fence out. And yet, I wonder. The part where he falls off is the only part that doesn't have sound in it. I was all ready to remove the audio track to make you guys really listen to what's going on there. And instead, I had to remove the piece where I'm talking about removing the audio track because it's quiet. I think they left it open to interpretation. I also think, and I mean this in a positive, respectful way, Manny is the saddest character I have ever played. Sadder than this clown kid from the Whispering Word, sadder than Rufus, sadder even than the gothic lunatic who killed himself at the end of Black Mirror, the game. And yet the game is so happy and jokey, but they do an even better job of making bone-weary sadness seem like a wild casino ride in here too. I sincerely hope that I haven't ruined anything for you that you loved in this game. Just in case I have, I want to leave you with the story so you at least know why I see things the way I do. One day, I was trying to get a friend to read a fantasy book that I really liked. I thought the writing was brilliant. He was refusing to read it because it had a tower shrouded in fog on the cover. According to him, that was a phallic symbol and that all romances aimed at women had those on the cover. I immediately told him that he was full of it, and I decided to prove that he was wrong. I grabbed a bunch of science fiction and fantasy paperbacks off my shelves. I went through them, and lo and behold, every single one that had a romance in it also had a tower shrouded in fog on the cover. So it could be just a coincidence that occurred, and I could be completely wrong. So my apologies for seeing this game in that light. This seems a strange place to ask for likes, shares, and subscriptions. If you do, I will go on and ruin Rufus for you someday.